It is time to get out of pocket with Michael Davis on Boom Broadcasting for the first time in 2025. We hope you had a phenomenal new year, a phenomenal holiday. And guys, we have missed so much. I tried deciding if I wanted to wear Dallas Cowboys merch, but that's probably not the best time of the year to wear it. I was thinking about wearing some Miami Heat merch. That's probably not the best time to be wearing it. But I'm going to wear this Duke hoodie because the basketball team is doing better than any of the other. It looks like we have a bug in here. We'll figure out these technical difficulties as we are live on Boom Broadcasting. You guys can comment, be a part of the show. We'd love to hear from you for the first time in 2025. And we got a few guests today. Somebody who's going to have to keep up with me and tolerate me for the next hour. He's agreed and, is wanting to be on the entire show. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, depends how bearable you are. He's a Raiders guy. We'll talk about his Raiders here and the decision they made with Antonio Pierce. We got from Drew Code Sports Talk. We have Cody in the show. Cody, it's great to have you on, my friend.
Good to be on, man. Thanks for the invite again. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's going to be fun today. We're talking NFL. We're talking NBA. We're talking Raw on Netflix. And there's been several articles that's been published on Fans First Sports Network by myself. One of them was previewing Raw on Netflix. That's available on their website. Another one available on their website is Jimmy Butler and a potential landing spot, potentially in Phoenix, is one I recommend and suggested. That's up on Fans First, in addition to what Jerry Jones is doing with Mike McCarthy. And we're about to get into it because it is Black Monday. There are some coaches that have been fired, but there's some coaches that's being brought back. And so I know this guy talked about it a little bit on the Gridiron Address last night, did a great job having a fun time with Jason and Chris live on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. I wanted to bring him in because there's been some news developed since he was last on about 24 hours ago. We got the host of the Gridiron Address, my good friend, former App State alum as well, Aaron Schneider. Aaron, I don't know what was happening with the technical difficulties, but I don't think you had any yesterday.
No, I don't have that kind of power.
Well, we'll get into it because some people are out of power today, including Doug Peterson. The Jacksonville Jaguars deciding to part ways with Doug Peterson, who is the only coach to bring a Super Bowl to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously in a weaker division, and were one of the worst teams in the NFL with Trevor Lawrence even. They finished third in their division at 4-13. So they didn't even finish with a worse record than Tennessee. Tennessee will have the number one overall pick as it stands right now, unless they trade out like the Carolina Panthers made a deal for Bryce Young a couple years ago. Guys, I want to know your reaction to Doug Peterson getting fired by the Jacksonville Jaguars, starting with Aaron.
I mean, this was to be expected. This was a no-brainer. It feels like it was bound to happen eventually. I thought it might happen during the season, but after they kept losing and he was still coaching, it was obvious they were waiting until the season was actually over to fire him. I think it's the right move. They're not an untalented squad, and like you said, they are in one of the weaker divisions in the league, and you just need to have more success than that in that kind of division with like a somewhat talented roster. It's far from the worst roster in the league, so they needed to be better. Peterson just was not good enough in Jacksonville, and so I agree with the firing. I think it was the right move.
And Cody, is interesting because Doug Peterson did win a Super Bowl with the Eagles, so do you think it will be hard for him to find a job? And by the way, the seat is surreal. Now, maybe it was a typo and he either meant to say the seat is steel or the seat is grill, but then he added on Chris, the host of Dugout Debrief, freezing in Dallas. I hope that's in reference to where one of our content creators is at rather than Mike McCarthy and that situation. And Jason bringing up a good point. He was fired in London. They at least waited until the end of the season. I was saying, like, it was only a matter of time for Doug Peterson to get fired, and I thought it was going to happen in London. Cody, do you think they made the right decision waiting it out the entire year?
I don't know if waiting it out the entire year would have made a difference. This team wasn't going anywhere regardless. I think maybe what they did is save themselves the distraction maybe from having the players answer what's it like now not having your head coach or whatever. But we all kind of knew that Doug Peterson wasn't going to survive this season. And to be truthful, with the expectations that the Jaguars had for the last few seasons under his stewardship, like, we expected playoff caliber AFC threats, and they were nowhere near. They almost clinched the number one pick, and they had as you said, Michael, a Super Bowl winning head coach who came in with a lot of, experience. He came in with, the understanding that he was going to turn this around. And quite frankly, he didn't. And if anything, like, you saw a lot of regression with Trevor Lawrence. You saw this defense not play up to their abilities that they're supposed to. There's just a lot that Doug Peterson didn't do that the Jaguars were expecting. And, I think we all kind of foregone conclusion Doug Peterson was out. I'm more surprised that the GM is staying put, if I had to be honest. I think that's the biggest question mark here, because a lot of the roster decisions, a lot of the player personnel, coaching personnel is falling on the GM, and yet somehow he has found his way to be out from another firing spree, and the head coach is taking it again. So, Doug Peterson, I think he'll land with like a coordinator job. I don't know about head coaching in the near future, but Jaguars are a hot mess. They've been that way for better than a decade, and only a couple of seasons have they had any sort of success. So this is kind of par for the course for them, and who knows what they'll look like next season and future years.
And they definitely regressed. 2 back-to-back 9-8 seasons. That gave them the division a couple years ago. It landed them second and missed the playoffs last year, but obviously 4-13 is the opposite direction that the organization wanted to go. Having a franchise quarterback like Trevor Lawrence didn't really help either, because, I mean, you saw regression from Lawrence, just like Jason, the host from 3 from Deep. He dropped his NBA podcast earlier. He talked about the Jimmy Butler saga that we'll get into here a little bit later. I feel like, depending on how many openings there are, will depend on if Doug Peterson finds himself. Because even after he got fired from Philly, he was off the 2021 season before he landed with the Jaguars and led them to a division crown his first year. So it'll be very interesting. There's a couple teams who I did expect them to make a move, one of them being the New York Giants. The Giants decided to stay with Brian Dable. After the Giants went 3-14, they're going to have the number 3 overall pick in this year's draft, right behind Tennessee, right behind Cleveland. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Ooh, Jason, and this is why we do live streams, so you guys can be a part of the conversation. He's like, the Jags trade Lawrence and start fresh at quarterback. Aaron, I hate that idea.
No, that's bad. That would not be the right move. I think you get a good offensive-minded head coach, try and take Trevor Lawrence to what we expected him to be when he got drafted to Jacksonville. I think hitting the reset button it would be really foolish of Jacksonville to do. They've already got a little bit of an uphill battle ahead of them. Starting over at quarterback just makes that even more.
Yeah, Cody, this would be a bad move. Once you have your guy, you keep your guy.
Well, I would even make the argument, I don't even know if Lawrence is the guy in the Jaguars organization. I don't know. To me, I'm a little out on Lawrence. I have no idea what we have in him, if he's really like the guy that's going to take us to the future. I do think, though, that the Jaguars letting him go and hitting the full reset button would be a little tough, because he is on a contract that they did extend him on. So I would hold on to that. You just drafted Brian Thomas Jr., who is a stud. Maybe you put another piece around Trevor Lawrence, and maybe they're respectable in the AFC, but I mean, it's not like this draft coming up has a wealth of quarterback depth in it like what we had last year's draft. So I wouldn't go trading away, a quality starter just for the sake of, like, we got to hit the reset button. Maybe let's see how bad we are next season, and let's assume Arch Manning is the number 1 prospect out of the quarterback position. Maybe Jaguars get the number 1 seed in that part. We'll go from there. But for now, I wouldn't let go of Trevor Lawrence. There's too many quarterback questions with everybody else, and I'm not comfortable with letting go of Trevor Lawrence, even though, again, I'm not sure if there's a ton of upside left in him.
Yeah, and Max saying dead cap would prohibit it. By the way, not only is Outta Pocket returning today, Dad and the boys returning tomorrow, recapping a little bit of what happened this past weekend. We'll be creating content for you more and more as we go on. But as I mentioned, Brian Dable, one of the guys staying put. Aaron, do you think this was the right decision for the Giants?
It's tricky. I believe that Dable can have success as a head coach. I don't know if this is the spot for him. Maybe to look at it optimistically, him getting the quarterback that he wants in this draft class, in theory, even though that they won themselves out of the first overall draft pick. So still don't know who they're going to get, but I'm not crazy on it. I'm not super upset about it, but I was fully expecting him to get fired today, and pretty surprised that the Giants are retaining him and the GM as well.
Cody, do you think that's the right move for the Giants organization?
This is what's tough, is because I agree with Aaron. I think Brian Dable is a good head coach. I do think he has found success, even his first year with the Giants, took him to the playoff with Danny Dimes. I think what's unfortunate is there's combination between bad personnel decisions, and I'm referring to when they let go of Saquon Barkley for nothing, re-signing Danny Dimes to a $40+ million contract when you knew he wasn't your quarterback. Things like that make me question your leadership. But what you can't deny, though, is like they are competitive. This is probably the worst year we've seen it. But am I surprised that he stayed? Yes. Do I think that he's better than what has been advertised? I do. We'll see what the draft looks like if they get the quarterback that they're looking for. I think that's a big question. I think, though, that Dable doesn't have very many seasons left. I'm not trying to say that he's good for another 3 seasons. He may have bought himself one additional season to see where we're at with everything. Their GM, I think, who's newly hired, he may be on the hot seat next season as well, because, again, he had the bright idea to not re-sign Saquon and also sign Danny Dimes, which is kind of like a big point. We'll see. I think maybe the only bright spot that is the defense of the Giants. And, of course, Malik Neighbors, who's an absolute freak. So we'll see if they can get like a comparable quarterback. Maybe, to answer Jason's question, maybe the New York Giants go trading for Trevor Lawrence, and maybe it bolsters morale around there. That maybe, but I'm surprised that the Giants kept him. But, I do think Brian Dable would have had a market, though, had he been let go.
And that's interesting, because everybody was hyped up about Brian Dable, after he worked with Josh Allen and what he's done. I personally think Josh Allen has been a better quarterback since Dable left, especially this year. I think Josh Allen really thrived and exceeded this year. And, if it wasn't for everybody else like Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen would probably be one of my favorites for MVP. And Max saying they got a stud wide receiver. I think the Malik Neighbors draft pick is saving Brian Dable right now. Mm-hmm. I think that is huge. Hopefully they can, not hopefully as a Cowboys fan, but hopefully, for Jason's sake, so he doesn't pull all his hair out, the stuff he has left at least, that the New York Giants can use a top draft pick to either get a quarterback there. Maybe Shadur Sanders is there. Maybe Cam Ward is there. Those are probably going to be the 2 first quarterbacks taken off the board this spring, and see what the Giants do. But they're not in an easy division, because Dallas had a down year, but the Giants still finished 4th. Washington, with the acquisition of Dan Quinn and what he's done to turn that program around with Jaden Daniels as the rookie quarterback. And then in addition, you got the Philadelphia Eagles, who added on with the guy who left New York. Saquon Barkley didn't help. Podcast Me join us as well. What's good, fellas? He'll be back in a week or 2. Shout out to him. So excited to see Quick Hits back. Excited to see Shannon back on Outta Pocket as well. But Cody might be excited, or is he, to see the Raiders retain Antonio Pierce. Cody, as a Raiders fan, what was your initial reaction?
Well, okay, so there's a bit of a divide with Raider Nation. I'm on the camp that I'm glad that AP is going to be returning. I was a fan of him last year. I would say that a lot of what was happening this season, a lot of it was rookie head coach really just still trying to figure out what his direction is going to be with the team, but also too, like dealing with a ton of injuries on the offensive side of the ball. We had the Devontae Adams drama, and then the defensive side of the ball, we were completely depleted, where we were basically putting in practice squad guys and running out of defense there. And the record is what it is. I mean, we were a 4-12 team. We played like it. We looked like it. But I think what was encouraging is the guys didn't stop playing for AP, which was really encouraging. And I think, too, this draft with Tom Telesco is going to be really pivotal. And here's why I'm happy that AP is staying is because, look, it's 1 year. And the Raiders, if we had let him go, that had been the third coach in 5 years that is coaching, that is being paid, but not on the sidelines because we've let go of head coaches. Obviously, with John Gruden, Josh McDaniels, and then AP would have been the third one. So keeping AP at least keeps a little bit of continuity. And I'm a big proponent of, like, I don't agree with firing a coach after 2 seasons or 3 seasons. Like, you look at Mike Tomlin, you look at, John Harbaugh, you look at some of these head coaches that have been at their places for a long time. They went through some rough patches, but given the opportunity and time to turn it around, they've turned into powerhouses. And every year, maybe they might have a down year, but come back with a good year. And some of these head coaches only get like 20 games to prove themselves, and that's just not a big enough sample size. And I feel like AP was getting that kind of judgment of like, oh, you're not a Jim Harbaugh that turned this organization around, went to the playoffs, but they also had a quarterback, they had an offensive line, they had a defense, which AP did not have any of those things, and yet was held to the same expectation, which is unrealistic. So as a Raiders fan, I'm glad we're going to keep a coach and we're not in the news for that part of it. But all eyes now are on Tom Telesco. What is he going to do in the draft? So that way AP can take these guys, develop them, and see if we can be a better football team next season. I think that's where we're at as Raider Nation.
And that's a great point. And Joseph joining us. AP's a good coach. The roster has very little talent. They have some building blocks, kind of like Brock Bowers and what he did as a rookie. But the quarterback class isn't that good. Probably referencing to Cam Ward. And the quarterback situation was something that held the Raiders back because where you're going to turn Desmond Ridder, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, like,
right.
and you're looking at the rest of the division, Aaron. Like, that division, like, it's probably why Antonio Pierce is coming back for another year too, because you look at it, he's not going to be able to outcoach Andy Reid. He's not going to be able to outcoach Jim Harbaugh or Sean Payton. Like, he needs, I mean, this is a full rebuild. You got to give him the opportunity for rebuild. And by the way, Ryan Sarda joining us on Outta Pocket, saying Sean Payton should be coach of the year. Nobody expected Denver be a playoff team this year. I'm glad Ryan brought this up. We are going to cover playoff teams here in a second and, talk about those surprising teams. But Aaron, Antonio Pierce, with all the coaches, he should very well get another season, prove himself.
100%. And to what Cody said, the players never stop playing for him. They like playing for him. You don't fire a coach that your players go out there and fight for week in, week out, even though you're struggling. That it's like the Patriots firing Gerard Mayo. I think that was a bad move. The guy had arguably the worst roster in the league, and he wins a game and he still gets fired. It's ridiculous. I was a big fan of the hire for the Raiders last season. I'm excited that he's getting another season to hopefully build on and maybe get a quarterback. I don't know. It's a rough class to need a quarterback, and with some desperate teams at the top of the draft, Titans, maybe Browns as well, Giants, they're not going to get their pick of the litter in this draft, but super happy AP's coming back, and hopefully he can step up and have a better season next year.
And there's a lot of conversation in the comments. Ryan started it with Sean Payton being his coach of the year. Matt bringing up Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach's coach of the year. And there were some reports, like people were trying to stir the pot a little bit, saying, hey, Kevin O'Connell should get traded by the Minnesota Vikings. And O'Connell's like, nah, I want to stay here. Don't do that to me. I'm doing good. I'm doing fine here in Minnesota. But that brings up a good point. I do want to bring up Mike McCarthy. And, I brought up some stuff in an article earlier this afternoon for Fans First Sports Network. But the people in the comments want to know coach of the year. We got Ryan on Sean Payton's side. We got Mac on Kevin O'Connell's side. I'm personally on the side of Mike Tomlin. What he was able to do with the roster he had, that should have been a 4-win team, but Mike Tomlin, year after year, very consistent, getting his team a winning record year in, year out, getting his team to the playoffs. He should be rewarded for what he's done. But Cody, do you have a Coach of the Year candidate?
I was on the Mike Tomlin train for a majority of the season, but since they went 0-4 to close out the season, I don't know how you make the argument that Mike Tomlin is Coach of the Year. Yes, he finished with another winning record. He made the bold decision to change the starting quarterback from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson, but also an argument could be made that because of Russell Wilson struggling in the stretch, like, why didn't you make another change if you think it would have sparked the offense? And also him still allowing the George Pickens shenanigans to go on in the middle of the season, which is just now showing that Mike Tomlin, when it comes to like a diva receiver, accepts that kind of behavior. But how do we look at that and then look at what Kevin O'Connell did? They drafted a rookie quarterback, goes down with an ACL injury in the preseason. You bring in Sam Darnold, who majority of the league kind of wrote off, gets them to have the highest win total of their franchise that did not win a divisional crown. And they're arguably like the second strongest team in the NFC behind the Lions, who they did lose to. It wasn't a great loss, but they did lose to. But still 14 wins in a very competitive division and conference that they were in. I think that overshadows a little bit of what Denver did, because you can make the argument that Denver's defense carried the Broncos a little bit majority of the season, and that's why they were able to clinch a playoff berth. And let's not forget, it's not like the Broncos got like the 4th seed. They were the dead last, like 7th seed of the wild card, because the Bengals almost got in, the Dolphins almost got in. The Broncos lose to the Bengals, who were desperate to get in. All they had to do was beat them, and they were in. And Sean Payton did a great job with rookie Bo Nix, but I think Kevin Stefanski did a lot. Kevin O'Connell did a lot more with the Vikings than Sean Payton with the Broncos. Both got into the playoffs, but when you have reports coming out that teams are going to debate about whether they're going to trade for your head coach, I think that means that you win Coach of the Year. They're literally waiting to mortgage their future to pick you up as a leader of their team, because they know that's how good of a job you're doing.
And Max saying KC let Broncos in. And Cody, you did bring up good points. But I'll just say, I mean, I don't say this as like one game should, ruin you for Coach of the Year, but 31-9 was not a good showing by Minnesota this weekend. Just FYI, with all those things going on. Jason saying Dan Campbell or Mike Tomlin, but a close second is Todd Bowles from the Bucks. Needing some love. I'm not entirely upset about that. Especially losing Dave Canales to Aaron's Carolina Panthers. Aaron, do you have a Coach of the Year candidate?
I've got to say Kevin O'Connell as well. I mean, Sam Darnold is looking like an amazing NFL quarterback, and he has never looked like this at any point in his career. I think that speaks volumes about how good of a coach Kevin O'Connell is. We also, and on the other side of that 31-9, Dan Campbell, like Jason said, he's got to be up there as well. And at the risk of sounding a little bit like a homer, Jim Harbaugh, like, yes, we didn't expect the Broncos to be in the playoffs. We didn't expect the Chargers to be in the playoffs either. And they finished above the Broncos. So we need to throw Jim Harbaugh in that Coach of the Year conversation as well. It's super competitive. There's a handful of guys you can make a really strong argument that deserve to win Coach of the Year. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of deserving coaches that aren't going to get it. I would go Kevin O'Connell in spite of the 31-9 loss last night.
And now I do want to bring up, you see the person on the graphic, if you're watching us live on the YouTube channel, it's Mike McCarthy. Black Monday didn't really come for him. He is without a contract right now. There is a negotiation period window that Mike McCarthy can only talk to Dallas, and Dallas would need to give a team like the Chicago Bears, who requested permission to interview Mike McCarthy. They haven't made a stand on whether they are going to bring them in or bring him in or deny him. Mac saying results versus expectations. Nathan saying hello. What's up, Nathan? Appreciate you joining us live on Outta Pocket today. We're talking NFL. We'll have Austin Summers here closer to the top of the hour, talk some NBA and Jimmy Butler. And then we'll talk some Raw on Netflix as well. That debut coming up. while I still have Aaron on, this Mike McCarthy stuff is just agitating me to no end. And here's why. You knew, and I wrote an article mid-November on Fans First of 6 candidates who could take over for Mike McCarthy. People were thinking about it in November. Whether you want to or not, you have to evaluate that side like, hey, the season's not going as we want. Mike McCarthy doesn't have a contract. What do we do? The fact that Jerry Jones on January 6th hasn't made up his mind and he's going out and saying, we're going to take our time. We're going to be patient. There's no rush to make a decision. When other teams are making decisions, other teams know their plan. They know who they're targeting. This just doesn't sound right for the Dallas Cowboys to wait on a decision with Mike McCarthy. Either you want to bring him back after 3 consecutive 12-win seasons and injury-riddled 2024, or you want to go a different direction. And Aaron, I don't think it sits well with me at all. I know it sits well with mouthing off with Mike, who's an Eagles fan. We'll be on a really late night Raw nightcap later tonight to talk about Raw and Netflix debut. It's leaning towards about a 3.5-hour show. But Aaron, I'm not happy at how Jerry's handling this. Do you think I'm out of pocket at all?
You're not. It is a little, I would imagine as a Cowboys fan, it's unpleasant watching this play out. I think why there is some indecision is that the Cowboys played some to close out the season. I think if they looked bad like they had, the other 75% of the season, it would be a significantly easier decision. But Jerry's also weirdly loyal and stubborn, stuck in his ways. Like he said, he's never given up GM duties as long as he lives. So he might be sticking to his guns a little bit, but it's tough. I don't know where I stand on if McCarthy should go or not, because 3 straight 12-win seasons, that means you are a very good head coach. Yes, they did nothing in the postseason. So there's a strong argument to be made like, hey, he can get it done in the regular season. Come postseason, he lays an egg. Oh, yes, you ended Tom Brady's career. Good job on that, but that's the highlight of the postseason during his tenure with Dallas.
Hey,
Jerry Jones is delusional 1,000%. Yes, I don't like Jones. I'll just leave it at that because, I just don't like the guy.
I will say ending Tom Brady's playing career is about as good as Brock Lesnar ending Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania, 21 years. He's in the comments. He's going to be on here in a couple minutes, talk some NBA, and Jimmy Butler want now Miami, saying Jerry's delusional franchise will be nothing with him in charge. Jason saying Cliff Kingsbury from Commanders would be a dark horse for the Cowboys, a great season with Daniels. Austin saying he loves seeing Jerry run the team in the ground. And he's in the chat running wild right now. Cody, before Austin comes on and talks some Jimmy Buckets with us, do you think Jerry could handle this situation better, and how so?
Oh, he could have absolutely handled this better, but will he? Probably not. And, what Jerry could do is not be so vague and tell parables and kind of talk out of both sides of his mouth when it comes to his players and his coaches. For someone that's a business guy that you would expect to be just really direct about what he's wanting, should have Super Bowl expectations, but again, haven't really had those in a very long time. For Mike McCarthy, I think he's dealt with a lot of BS that was unnecessary for this season. And yet, for his contract to expire before the start of the season is almost a slap in the face. I don't know what Jerry Jones wants to do. I think what he's doing is taking back his narrative. He's taking control of his team, and you're seeing him run it the way Jerry wants to run it, which is fine. But for those in, Cowboy Nation who want some actual definitive answers, hey, what are we doing? What's the plan? And Jerry just is going to tell you when Jerry is ready to do it. And I think that's the fact of it. And I would not be surprised if Mike McCarthy just says, you know what, good luck, you guys. And then what are the Cowboys going to do? Because I don't know how many head coaches or coaching candidates are going to go run to Jerry Jones with how he kind of operated this season. Because this was kind of the most unhinged Jerry I've seen in a long time. And he's had some doozies, and this one was another level. And it just, the fact that half of his team has a podcast and Micah Parsons was saying what he was saying, and then Jerry on the other side saying what he was saying, it's a mess over there. And Mike McCarthy doesn't deserve all that. And we'll see. But Jerry Jones is going to do what Jerry Jones wants to do, and he doesn't care who has an opinion about it. So,
and he made a comment that he paid for the organization. He bought the franchise at 46 years old, and he's like, I'm going to be the GM till I die. Which didn't surprise any of us that he would make that decision. And again, hey, if you buy it, rightfully so. If you buy a home, you can do whatever you want with it. It really hurts when it's like, okay, let's be deliberate. Let's be intentional with the time we have. And Mac bringing up the good old 46, that is a little inside joke. But Aaron had the Gridiron Address last night covering a lot of the final day of the regular season of the NFL. He's going to be doing some more playoff content as we go along. But Aaron, appreciate you hopping in and talking some coaching with us.
Always glad to come on. I just want to mention something real quick that we didn't touch on. Tyreek Hill saying that he's done in Miami. He's out. He needs to do what's best for his career. It was so obvious to what I felt like everybody that going to Miami was not the right move for his career. It was blatantly all about money. If he wanted to make the right move for his career, he would have stayed in Kansas City with the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes. So it's kind of ridiculous. We got another kind of diva wide receiver situation on our hands. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up, but it was a bad decision to go to Miami, and it's falling apart a little quicker than I would have expected.
And that's a good point. I did want to carve a lot of time tomorrow to talk about Tyreek Hill's situation. Jerry's World's a TV show. Dallas, he loves the drama. Dallas is a good TV show, by the way. If you guys have never watched it, I went to the place where it was filmed. Some saying I can't blame them to going to be on. Oh no, that might be out of pocket, but we'll see. We'll see what other out of pocket stuff Summers has for us. Aaron, appreciate you. And as I mentioned, Cody's staying on with me for the duration of Out of Pocket. Talk some Raw on Netflix at the close of the show, but I had some very unfortunate things that happened. And Jason giving Aaron a shout out. Aaron, let's go. I had some very unfortunate things happen that tried ruining my holiday season. That Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami. The relationship has soured, and Jimmy Buckets wants to play anywhere but Miami. And so I had to bring in the guy from Sniz Fantasy Football. He is somebody who really loves the basketball world as well. We're in a couple fantasy basketball leagues. I'm not doing too hot in there. If I can only remember to make my picks. But we got my good friend Austin here in the show, and he's wearing that ugly Clippers toboggan. I'll try not to upset him at all with that. But Austin, I am struggling here the last few days because people have been texting me like Jimmy Butler's on his way out, and then I'm like seeing Pat Riley say we're not trading Jimmy Butler, and then Jimmy goes on the press conference saying I've lost my joy, kind of like Shawn Michaels saying I've lost my smile. And now Pat's like, no, we're trading him. And he's suspended 7 days. Austin, I don't know how we got here.
Yeah. First, thanks for having me on, Michael. I'm glad to be here. Cody, good to see you again.
Same, Austin.
Yeah, no, it is. It's been a whirlwind. Honestly, I think that Jimmy Butler, Shams, and Pat Riley and Jimmy's agent quadfecta of going back and forth of I want to be here, I want to leave, he's staying, he's going. I think, Jimmy is a pretty professional guy, so I think he really tried to handle it in the professional way of trying to let the inside know, hey, I want out. And when Pat Riley pretty much came out and said, hey, we're not trading him, Jimmy was like, okay, I'm going to have to be the bad guy. I'm going to have to come out and straight up say it. I want out of here. And I can't blame him. I mean, the roster's been the same for almost 5 years. They've really not put nothing around him. He has wheeled this team to the finals twice now, and they've really not gave him no help. Tyler Hero this year is finally being the guy that he should have been for years past. But it's too little, too late is the problem. And I can't blame Jimmy for wanting out. He's almost 35. He is 35. I'm not sure.
35, yeah.
He is 35. He wants a lot of money that I really don't think a smart team should invest in him for what he's worth. I get it. He's loyal. He's drag jaw. But I don't think he's worth that money. I mean, you're seeing that with Paul George right now in Philadelphia. And so I can't blame Pat Riley for wanting to move on from him and letting him go off into the sunset. But I get Jimmy wanting to get his last bag while he can in the NBA. So,
Yeah, and he's also probably wanting a ring, and that is a huge factor because Miami does have good pieces with Tyler Hero finally emerging, Bam Adebayo. But again, like, is it enough? Jason saying so odd for Miami have this kind of drama on Pat Riley team. And Will Jarvis, thanks for the collarbone, buddy. He said, Jimmy's washed, let him go. And it stinks because it's like he's still like averaging 17 points per game. I wrote an article earlier today on Fans First Sports Network, kind of talking about a potential destination that Jimmy could go, and I'll bring that up here in a couple more minutes when we talk about like what is next. But Cody, Jimmy Butler has represented Miami so well since 2019. Represented Heat culture, like he is giving him all during the playoffs. Playoff Jimmy, like going above and beyond in the finals a couple times. It's just tough. And as much love as I have for Will Jarvis right there, I had a lot of love for Jimmy Butler. And depending on how the divorce goes, I don't know if I'll be able to say the same here in a couple weeks.
So, Michael, what's funny is before you came on Drew Code the first time, and this is back in October, I think the regular season had just started, like maybe its first like 10 days. And I was going to ask you, do you think Jimmy Butler is going to finish the season being on the Heat? Because there was just something, we were too far beyond now from the time that he took the Heat to the finals, and there was all this drama about whether he was going to play, how injured was he, his effort, and all this stuff. And I wanted to pose this to you back in October. So the writing's been on the wall since then. And I have a question to ask. Like, I'm sure Jimmy Butler is a really good player, but is he really worth all of this hassle? This is, that I know of, the fourth team that he is asking to leave. And other than like, maybe I think he helped get the Timberwolves in the playoffs. Obviously the Sixers were a hot mess when he was there. He had that stint with Chicago where he asked out of that. Now we're in a fourth team where this team or this organization up and down is the most structured organization probably in the NBA outside of the San Antonio Spurs. We can all agree to, right?
Oh, yeah.
And yet Jimmy Butler is asking out. And I think the reason why is because how they operate is you have a contract. You're going to honor your contract. We'll review your contract when it's deemed necessary. They don't bend to the demands of a player. They're kind of old school. Pat Riley runs that very old school. And a lot of these players nowadays, they have demands. They have this, they have that, and they kind of get their way just because, yes, they are the talent. They're going out there, and if you want to sign me, you're going to bend to my demands, which I get it. But my question would be, is Jimmy Butler at this stage of his career worth all the hassle that is causing the Miami Heat? Because here's the funny thing. Jimmy Butler puts out a list reportedly of who he'd like to go to. It's like the Heat, the Suns, Mavericks, Mavericks and Rockets and all this stuff. Who's to say that Pat Riley just doesn't send him to Detroit or Charlotte just out of spite? Because you know what? I'm going to send you where I want. As far as I know, Jimmy Butler doesn't have a no trade clause. And Pat Riley, if he really wants to stick it to Jimmy Butler, is going to put him where it benefits the Heat. And if I'm the Heat, I would want the draft capital that comes out of Charlotte more than, let's say, the Phoenix Suns, because I know that I'm probably going to get a high draft pick out of the Hornets, lottery pick, if that's what we're going for. But I say all that to say is, like, look, I'm sure Jimmy Butler is going to make a great thing on another team. Reportedly, Bradley Beal, I think I saw on Instagram, is reportedly open to moving. And so maybe that'll facilitate some movement. Will it move the needle at the end of the day? I really don't know, because I don't know what Jimmy with his joy back is going to look like. Because in my opinion, I didn't think he was that much of a difference maker the majority of the time, because I do think that Eric Spoelstra is a hell of a coach. And I think that's why, like, this Miami team plays out of its talent level, is because they are just ready to go. Does it help that you have Jimmy Buckets? Yes, but you also got Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. You did at one point have Duncan, the sharpshooter. You had all these other weapons, and the Miami Heat has always operated out of efficiency, not going after huge big name stars. So I don't know what exactly Jimmy Butler is begging for, to be honest, but if he wants to just go into a chain of scenery, I'm sure he could have handled it behind closed doors, and that would have Pat would have facilitated that. But I think what really chaps Pat Riley's backside is that he did this so publicly and so abrasively, and he's kind of being a bit melodramatic about it. Like, oh, I just don't have my joy anymore. I don't know what to do with that. Like, you control your own joy and your own emotions. I don't. I hold you to the expectations I set. You decide how you want to accept that. I don't have any control after how you're feeling. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, but if I was in his situation, he's asked that team to upgrade the roster year after year. He asked them to go get Damian Lillard. They didn't get him. They've asked him to provide some help around him because he literally has backpacked this team in the playoffs. Yeah, Duncan had some good postseason. Tyler Hero's been injured almost every postseason run they've went on. And then Bam is there, but he's not had a good year this year. And so I get his frustration. I really do, because I don't think of anybody in the league wants to win more than Jimmy Butler, I think. I mean, that guy is committed and wants to win. And I mean, I've never seen someone go to such another level in the playoffs either, but I would be they've not facilitated a successful team around him in these past years. And I think they've overachieved, like you said, and that's made maybe Pat Riley think, well, we can do that again and not bring in extra help. And I think that's been a big issue.
And Joseph saying here, run by an excellent coach, but Miami needs more playmakers. He's agreeing with Austin. As a Heat fan, like, I'm seeing those and I'm like, man, we were close to getting Bradley Beal, but I mean, that's $50+ million a year himself. Damian Lillard. I feel like Portland shortchanged Miami and just sent him to Milwaukee for whatever reason, which was a little frustrating. As a Heat fan, it's like, wow, I feel like we offered you more than you took to send him to Milwaukee. And Jason, the host of 3 from Deep, knows NBA players are all pretty dramatic. That comes with the jersey. And Mac bringing up the suspension. Yeah, Jimmy Butler is suspended without pay 7 games for conduct detrimental to the team. So it is affecting his pocketbook a little bit. And I don't know, guys. Like, we're thinking about where to send him. Obviously, Miami to make the deal. Like, they hold a lot of the power. But Jimmy gave the power a little bit away when he started, like, making some public remarks. And it's like, oh, so Jimmy Butler is actually touchable, and they're actively trying to ship him away. And we're seeing a lot of the comments. I think MB can make his way to Miami. No way. I think that's a joke. Do not send injury-riddled Joel Embiid to Miami. Please don't. Jason saying Suns, Heat, Golden State, 3-team mega deal. KD back in Golden State, Bradley Beal in Miami, Jimmy Butler in Phoenix. So that's one of his proposals. I did actually write the article on Fans First saying that Phoenix makes a little bit of sense. You replace Jimmy Butler's production with Bradley Beal. They have very similar stat lines. Jusuf Nurkic, as well as Bradley Beal, were taken out of the starting lineup as of today from the Phoenix Suns. So Miami, they lost Thomas Bryant in a deal to Indiana Pacers. You have Khalil Ware emerging, and I would love to see Ware, the rookie, team with Bam Adebayo, play a little bit more in that starting lineup, have a bigger feel to this Miami Heat team in terms of size-wise. So I wouldn't mind finding a way to get Nurkic and Beal to Miami, ship Jimmy Butler away, and have a little more depth at the big man. Jason says the deal has to make the money work. That's true. There's a lot of financial implications. And Nathan saying the Lakers, I don't want to see Jimmy Butler anywhere near Cody's Los Angeles Lakers.
I don't think the money lines up with the Suns directly, like Bradley Beal for Jimmy Butler. So I don't know what all they have to throw in with Nurkic. I don't know what contract he's on.
I think the Heat would have to get, obviously, Beal and Jimmy done. I think they would have to get a third team in there to get like an extra pick to like kind of get the salaries to line up. So I'd imagine this could end up being like a 3 or 4 team type of trade. To answer Jason's though, that's a really creative trade thought, but I think what makes it tough is you get Bradley or you get Jimmy Butler on the Suns and then you trade away KD and Bradley Beal, let's say, to get him. I don't know that the Suns do that. I think they're trading for Jimmy Buckets to make sure that they keep Devin Booker and KD. I just don't see how that all works. And I don't want Jimmy Butler on the Lakers. In fact, I want the Lakers to keep getting younger. I don't want them to add a mid-30s guard to a team that's not going to get much further than maybe the second round in the playoffs if we're lucky. Because the way that this roster is constructed, it's not really going anywhere until we figure out what we're going to do with Austin Reeves? What are we going to do with AD after LeBron retires? Are we going to keep him? Or like, there's just a lot of question marks with the roster that I need us to address first before we go after a mid-30s guard who maybe is better off in the Warriors situation. They want another player to be next to Steph Curry, and Steph Curry needs another star. The Warriors make more sense to me than the Suns.
Yeah.
Austin, where are you seeing this ended up? Where's Jimmy Butler go?
I see, not a lot of people has mentioned it, but I think the Rockets are a really good option for them. They have a really young team. I think if they're willing to maybe move on from Fred VanVleet and let some of their young guys take over, you can bring in Jimmy Butler and bring in a veteran presence with them that is an extremely good team, and be able to bring them that playoff experience to level them up to the next level. And it's not really been shouted much, but I think Houston is great for him. And then I think the Grizzlies are as well, kind of for the very similar reasons. They don't have the playoff experience that's needed to go really far. Like, yeah, they're second right now in the West, I think second or third, but we're not viewing them as a contender because they don't have the scars needed to be able to really make that run, kind of like OKC last year. So I think Jimmy could bring that. So I think either one of them, I think, are his two best places to go, in my opinion. But I could also see him ending up, I could see a team like the Hawks trying to figure something out to get a star for Trae Young to have beside him. But I think it could be anything. But yeah, them are some of my ideas.
And a couple of those ideas intrigue me. If it's Houston, I don't know if they'd be willing to, part ways with either Cam Whitmore or Amen Thompson. Either of those guys I feel like could be a replacement for Jimmy Butler. Obviously Houston wouldn't want to make a deal to where they're completely stripping away their young core. And Jason agreeing, Butler's best fit in Houston. You mentioned Memphis. The two teams that have been reported here and within the last hour are the Memphis Grizzlies. But there's also the Milwaukee Bucks, and that Milwaukee idea, Austin, just absolutely like, no, please.
I don't like the Milwaukee idea. They need more shooters to put around Giannis. I don't think Jimmy Butler's the guy that they need there. They've already got Dame. They've already got two stars. They don't need a third one. They need more depth and they need shooters.
And Max saying trade him to the lowest team in the league, which would be either the Charlotte Hornets, the Washington Wizards, or the New Orleans Pelicans. Cody, why not? Why not? Zion for Jimmy, straight up.
That's the Duke in you talking.
Wait, Michael, do you really want Zion on the Miami Heat with all that's been going on with his rumors of off the court stuff, playing out of shape sometimes? Do you guys really want to inherit all that?
I mean, he is younger. He may need a change of scenery. It wouldn't be like the worst trade in the world.
But we agree there's probably a better one out there, because I got to be honest, Zion is showing to me that he doesn't want to be an NBA star. He wants the paycheck that comes with it, but he does not want to do what it takes to be great in the league, at least compared to his peers. He, quite frankly, John Morant, I think they came out of the same draft together, is lapping him in terms of like expectation, talent, growth, and all that. Zion is like, we're still waiting to know, like, we know that he's good, but like, how good can he be? And he's kind of his own worst enemy in that respect.
Zion too worried about Creole crab bowls and DM and OnlyFans women's to be taking basketball serious. He does not. That boy needs to lock in because he's gonna be out the league.
He loves that lifestyle.
I mean, what better way to have that lifestyle in South Beach? And Joseph saying he thinks Milwaukee could use him, but can he and Damian Lillard get along?
Yeah.
My personal thing is, like, as a fan, like Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler, and Giannis on the same team would be really tough.
It took a year and a half for Dame and Giannis to even start to really gel well. So I can't imagine adding Jimmy Butler and that going any sort of well for at least the rest of this year.
But would also like Chris
wasn't Doc Rivers and Jimmy Butler on the same team?
Yeah, in Philly. I think they were in Philly together,
Didn't that sour because they didn't get along?
I'm not sure. I mean, they were one shot. They were a Kawhi Game 7 shot away from the conference finals. But
yeah. There was a lot more internal, I think, going on. But I agree.
I hate Doc Rivers. I have a burning passion against him. That man has coasted off his 08 championship more than anybody in the entire world.
Yeah.
And Joseph saying that was Brett.
Okay.
Who was the coach,
Got it.
not Doc Rivers.
Okay.
So Joseph, our resident Philly fan, don't know why he has really bad choice in teams, but he's keeping us checked with the facts. Brett Brown being the coach. So I don't know. It's tough. Like, I wish Miami would have delivered him a ring in some sort of fashion. Even the COVID year with the Lakers, there was just so much potential. That Denver Nuggets finals as well. It was a miraculous run from the play-in as the play-in 8 seed to the NBA finals, and it was on Jimmy Butler's back. And I just hope in 10, 15 years we look back and we're like, Jimmy Butler was one of the best Miami Heat players to play, no matter how this turns out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's left a legacy there. Absolutely.
I mean, with all that he's done, yeah, I can see that. Like, what he's done to make the Heat relevant since D Wade, I think, is pivotal. And, obviously it's going to probably transition over to Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo and whoever else they may draft and all that. But Jimmy Butler has definitely brought Heat culture, Heat mentality and all that other great stuff to that organization. I'm just not a fan of Jimmy Butler and the way that he goes about, like, being so, I don't know, so public about this stuff that you probably could get more done if you just kind of talk to Pat Riley. But, people have a hard time going with that old school mentality that Pat just lives by, and it sours a lot of players very quickly.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't think it matters really where Jimmy Butler goes, because wherever he goes, if they're not shooting 45% of their shots from three, they're not going to win the championship regardless. So, and he don't do that.
And especially with the way the NBA has, Jason talked about it a couple weeks ago on 3 from Deep. If Steph Curry's ruined the NBA because of his 3-point shot, if you guys haven't checked that episode out, it's available on demand for Boom Broadcasting. We bring a live content to you. This live sports show, Outta Pocket's first episode of 2025. It's been awesome with Aaron Schneider from the Gridiron Address, with Austin from Sniz Fantasy Football. We're going to let Austin go, and Cody and I are going to talk some WWE Raw on Netflix. But Austin, I appreciate you hopping on, my friend.
Absolutely. See you guys anytime you want to talk NBA. I'm here, baby.
Hey, I appreciate you, my friend. As I mentioned, it is Monday Night Raw. It is their debut on Netflix. And Mac bringing up the comment, trade Jimmy to Charlotte for a bag of peanuts and a parking attendant, with Charlotte agreeing to a no trade clause for him, or give Heat multiple first rounders, sends message to the next knucklehead. I love that. I love that. And speaking of, those parking attendants in Charlotte aren't even that great. So
shots fired over there. Okay.
Shots fired a little bit. Also, I'm not a big peanut guy. Cody, what's your favorite movie theater snack? Because I've had this argument.
Okay, so funny enough, Drew and I have this discussion all the time. I don't know how you go to the movies and not get popcorn. To me, it's like foreign. I have to have popcorn, lots of butter, and some Reese's Pieces to go with it, like that salty and sweet. That's popcorn go-to. That's the movie go-to.
I mean, Reese's Pieces aren't bad, but I'm not a big fan of popcorn,
really?
Especially movie theater. Every time I go to theaters, I do 1 or 3 candies. Okay. Number 3 would be Buncher Crunch. Okay. I'm a big Buncher Crunch guy. Number 2 would be the cookie dough bites.
Yeah, those are solid.
That's what I had the other day when I watched the Mufasa Lion King movie. And then number 1, obvious, Raisinets.
Okay.
I mean, you get your chocolate covered. You don't like that idea, do you?
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but that's fine.
Hey, it's fine. You can have a wrong opinion, because we can all agree and we can all enjoy Monday Night Raw debuting on Netflix. Now, if you're not a wrestling fan, if you've never experienced WWE, this would be the perfect opportunity for you guys to decide if this is something you could get into, if this is something you could look forward to every Monday at 8:00 Eastern, because this is going to be huge. They've loaded up the card. There's rumors of who could show up, from Triple H to The Undertaker to The Rock to Charlotte Flair to Becky Lynch, so on and so forth. This is going to be, Cody, one of the best Raws of all of 2025. And we're starting the year off right with Raw on Netflix. As they move from cable television to the streaming service, you're a very forward-thinking guy. So what are you expecting from Raw at its new home?
Well, here's the thing. For what we've seen other wrestling promotions do, what WWE did, even when they transitioned from USA to TNN or Spike TV back in the day, we've seen that WWE or wrestling has always kind of had the same sort of format that we're all kind of familiar to. You don't have to know every promotion to know kind of how it runs through. I think this is where WWE separates themselves with how wrestling promotion, professional wrestling, entertainment is done. I think we're going to see things, camera shots, action, storylines. I think this is where the WWE really pulls back the curtain on how creative they are with storytelling, match quality. I think we're going to see something that we never would have thought out of the WWE, even when it was ran by Vince McMahon. It is, to my opinion, it is going to put WWE on this hierarchy that people are only going to dream to get to one day. And it's going to be like, this is going to be kind of on the same upper echelon as like a WrestleMania, just because of how huge and how like the thing that's supposed to take this brand to the next level. Like, this is almost like now Triple H's version of like how he wanted Raw to be the entire time. And it's super exciting to see, because as someone that's watched it since I was little, never imagined it would go to streaming, Netflix as the partner, TKO being the merging partner, and how like well done it's been since then. I'm so excited to see what tonight looks like.
Dude, I am beyond excited. Max saying, since it's Raw, will they have a red mat? SmackDown brought a blue mat out on Friday. I don't know if you got to see that, but it looked weird.
A little bit. It kind of reminded me of like when they tried to do the retro Raw, like when they did like I think it was the 25-year anniversary, and they brought out the blue mat. That was okay. I'm actually curious if they're going to do the red ropes, because growing up on Raw versus War, the ropes used to be red. Now they kind of fluctuate between white and black and all that. But I think red, I'm wondering if they're going to bring that back, or, you know, how the mat's going to look, what kind of style they're going to do. I'm very curious to see this whole event. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
And there's been even backstage film on social media, a couple leaks where Triple H is helping organize some stuff. There might be a new announce table as well that's being brought. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But you mentioned, Cody, you know, this could be like a WrestleMania. So we obviously usually end our out-of-pocket shows, especially during football, basketball season, with a That Aged Well. And with tonight being Raw on Netflix, myself and Mike from Mouthing Off with Mike will be late on the nightcap tonight. This is probably going to be about a 3.5-hour episode of Raw. So while the nightcap has been starting at 10:05 usually, or 11:05 back when it originated, you'll have to just join us immediately following Monday Night Raw for the nightcap tonight. Maybe give us a 5-minute buffer, depending on how crazy Raw is tonight. But for That Aged Well, I want to run through these matches and just see who you think does win. One of the things that is making this feel like a pay-per-view is what is reportedly opening the night, and it should be main event, in my opinion. I talked about that on fansfirstsports.com. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Tribal Combat for the right to be called the Tribal Chief. It seems like finality of this. I don't know if this is the final chapter. But Cody, Roman, or Solo, who do you acknowledge?
Man, this is a tough one. So what I will say is I think the reason why this is going to kick off the show is because this is going to set the table, pun intended, for how the rest of the night is going to go. And because in wrestling, you either want to be the first match on the card or the last one. The middle is not great. So being the first one to set the table, set the expectations, I think is huge. So I am going to say that I would love to see Roman Reigns win. I will acknowledge the original Tribal Chief, but I think Sikoa comes out because of some interference by the Great One, who's reportedly to also be there tonight. And I think this kind of kicks off a Roman Rock Civil War kind of thing, which has been going on with Bloodline. So I'm going to go with Sikoa on this one, but I do want to acknowledge Roman Reigns, though. He is the OTC.
We do acknowledge the OTC Roman. Jason saying this is just another piece where all sporting events will be on streaming and not cable anymore. Follow the money. And that's why we wanted to touch a
100%.
little bit about this
Yeah.
on Outta Pocket, which is more geared towards sports. And we do have our usual Top Rope Tuesday where we talk a little bit about wrestling, but this is huge for streaming and sports and everything. We had NFL Christmas Day as well. I could see a scenario where The Rock comes out to cost Roman the right to be the tribal chief and continue the upper echelon of Solo's career. But Cody, I have a theory, and maybe we'll clip this here in the next couple hours before Raw. But I believe that Solo Sikoa wins thanks to the wise man, Paul Heyman.
Oh, that'll be good.
After watching SmackDown this Friday night, and Paul Heyman was about to make a promise, usually his promises come through and through, like Brock Lesnar ending the undefeated streak of The Undertaker. But instead, Paul Heyman was cut off. And then Solo comes out and he's like, I want you to be my wise man forever. I want you to hold the Ulafala. With that said, I feel like Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa have been working, and ever since Paul got put through the table, he doesn't want to be put through again. He's scared of Solo's bloodline. Can Roman protect him? And I think Paul is going to do what Paul Heyman does. I think he's going to cost Roman his spot at the head of the table.
That's a really good one. That's a great one.
And another good match we'll have is Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre tonight. Who do you got in that one?
Oh, I think this is for, my gosh, this is a tough one. I'm going to say Drew McIntyre. I think him coming back from injury, I really think that he's going to get a really good storyline where maybe he's getting one of those shots at maybe one of the mid-card titles, maybe even push for a main event title with Cody Rhodes especially. So I'm going to say he's going to take out Jey Uso, and I think the reason why is because I think Drew McIntyre is going to be a little bit brutal in this match and maybe even cheat a little bit to get there, low blow, maybe a shot with the chair or something like that. But I think Drew walks out of here, but in a very heel-like turn of events, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to go with Drew on this one.
Oh, yeah. I'm going Drew. It looks like Drew's about to move to SmackDown and can really elevate him when it comes to the main event title picture. And then you have what was going to be a last woman standing match. Instead, it seems to be just a regular match. Liv Morgan defending her Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. This has been one of the hottest feuds of the last 8 months on Monday Night Raw. So it's only fitting to kick off their Raw on Netflix with Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. Do you think the title changes hands and Rhea gets the championship back, or does Liv keep it with Judgment Day?
I think Liv's going to keep it with Judgment Day, but I think there's going to be some outside interference. I think someone's returning back to WWE Monday Night Raw. I think it's either going to be the Queen herself, Charlotte Flair, or the man, Becky Lynch. I think one of those two is going to be involved in this match and cost either by a DQ or just outright, costing Rhea. But I don't think Rhea walks out of here with the title. Here's why. Because she's dominant every time her and Liv go up. And it's clear that there is going to be an opponent that comes up and matches Rhea's strength. And I think the Queen herself, Charlotte Flair, who's been out, I think is going to come back going for that title. And I think it's going to set up like a Rhea and Charlotte storyline, which would elevate Rhea, in my opinion. So I think that's why Liv walks out of this with her title still.
And you bring up a good point. Like Rhea Ripley, the last couple of years been huge, but we haven't really gotten. I mean, we got Rhea Ripley back in COVID. She was an NXT superstar. I felt like she had a lot more room to grow. But now with Rhea Ripley at the height she is, if Charlotte Flair came back and cost her the title, or even Becky Lynch, you get like a really high profile feud. I gotta disagree. I feel like Rhea does win, just because like Liv took Dirty Dom, Liv took Judgment Day. You need to give Rhea something. Like Rhea just to win back her title is like, okay, we got an even split. Move these people to different brands, and we can start a new feud. Which one of the feuds that we have waited about a year for, CM Punk Seth Rollins. Both are healthy. Both are ready to go. This isn't waiting until WrestleMania, Cody, because this is a WrestleMania-like Monday Night Raw on Netflix. They've even made this the main event, which I personally would have liked Roman and Solo, as I mentioned, but it looks like CM Punk, Seth Rollins are going to close the first ever Raw on Netflix. Why do you think that's the case? And who do you have coming through?
I think the reason why they're the main event is because both of them genuinely do not like one another. And you kind of wonder like what type of match they're going to put on, because they're great businessmen. They are going to do what it takes to be entertaining in the ring. They're going to take care of one another, but the animosity is real. The storytelling within this match is going to be incredible. The promos recently have been nothing short of great, like some top tier promos in the last like week or so leading into this match. And I got to be honest, I don't know if this match ends in a pinfall. I think there's some sort of like count out or some sort of DQ, something to where like this does not have a definitive winner, because I don't know who decides like who's going to take the pinfall for one another. Again, like they're willing to do business, but whose side of the business are they going to do it for? This kind of gives me like, Brett, Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hartman kind of vibes of like, is Bret going to do business and drop the title like he's supposed to? Now, granted, there's no title implications in this, but it's like, man, who goes over the top? Like you can make an argument for so many cases, but ultimately I think I'm going to take CM Punk is going to walk out victorious in this one. I think it's going to be a great match, probably a 5-star level. And I think CM Punk is going to walk out.
Wow, that would be huge. And I love the Bret and Shawn comparison, because that's what it feels like, the real life animosity, but they're making money. For some reason, CM Punk and the people over at AEW couldn't put their differences aside to make money. I feel like they could have put in a really good all-in Wembley. Mac disagreed. He wants Liv and Rhea to last forever. Mouthing off with Mike, who I will be on the nightcap tonight, following Raw on Netflix, their debut, whenever that ends. Me and Mike, we'll probably have to pull an all-nighter. I'll probably need a cup of coffees, probably need a couple libations as well. He says Seth Punk is the right main event, so I will see if he sticks with that opinion on the nightcap later tonight. And Nathan saying CM Punk and Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 41 is his. That would be interesting, but I feel like CM Punk and Seth Rollins will be the WrestleMania. I feel like that's where the trilogy happens. And Maldoff was nightcap on Boom 10 minutes after Raw ends, whenever it actually ends. LOL. Hey, can we move that to 5? I'm on the East Coast. give me a little help, please. I'm on the East Coast. I have a bedtime, kind of. Who knows? I am usually a late night owl, but man, podcasting all day, can't get much better than that. I'm gonna go. You got Punk. We got 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes for the press. Now watch me be like 6 minutes late. Watch. No, it's going to be awesome. You're going Punk. I could see it 50-50 coin flip. Again, a trilogy ending at WrestleMania. So one person has to win the first match. The other person wins the second. I'm going to go Seth in a very heel way. As you can see, I see a lot of the heels winning tonight, to lure some of the new audience in to what Raw on Netflix will be. We'll have to see. You said Becky and Charlotte might come out.
I suspect either one or both might show up, because at least I've seen some stuff on X about Charlotte's maybe gearing up for a WWE debut. Raw would basically be the best time to do it. Becky's been rumored to also appear at Raw at some point. So I think one of those two is bound to make it. And then also too, to address Rhea and Liv, I kind of feel like this chapter is going to close and someone is going to need to do a storyline with one of those two. And I think no better than Rhea. I think Rhea's on a journey now to get back to the title rather than she's going to win it and be on the mountaintop. That makes more sense to me.
And Nathan, agreeing with you. Please, Rhea and Liv, it's over. Shout out if you're new joining us on Outta Pocket on Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel. I appreciate you. We cover a lot. We're talking Raw and Netflix. We talked NBA earlier today. We talked NFL and some of the head coaching moves as well. And then 3 from Deep, the NBA podcast, covered more of the Jimmy Butler saga, and LeBron passing Michael Jordan in a statistical category. Jason weighs all that out. Outta Pocket was on today. Mouthing Off with Mike, and I will be on the nightcap. Not 10 minutes after Raw ends, 5 minutes per the Prez's orders. It's going to be wild. It's going to be fun. If you stay up late with us, more power to you. If not, guess what? It will be available on demand on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. Cody's gotta have the nap. We're getting asked which time the Monday Night Raw Netflix. Raw is slated to start 8 p.m. Eastern time. So wherever you are watching, that is the time zone it will start, 8 p.m. So we're about an hour and 20 minutes away from Raw, and then we'll have the biggest nightcap ever. Imploring you, come hang with us, get your hot takes and your cold takes, or just say hi. And we're happy, and we'll give you a shout out just like we have on Boom Broadcasting for Outta Pocket. Cody, I appreciate you so much. I'll let you plug away and tell them where they can find you here on YouTube.
Oh, so on YouTube, it's Drew Code Sports Talk. Social media, just like it says on the screen, at Drew Code Sports Talk. For all the major social media platforms, we're available there. Check us out, because in majority of the time we have Mr. Perez himself that's coming out, and Jason, who's commenting right now. We're trying to plan everyone to come on at some point in time, because we can't just let this party go on and not have continuous fun. So stay tuned.
Oh, we're going to have continuous fun. Jason saying shout out to you, and shout out to B. Michael Davis. And you guys know why it's B. Michael Davis? It's because everybody wants to be Michael Davis. All right. And mouthing off with Mike saying, I love you, Cody. Now, don't get a big head. I think he's talking about Cody Rhodes. But you know,
I can live with that. It's fine.
It'll be fine. No, Cody, I appreciate you. Love you, man. Thank you so much. Guys, go follow Drew Code Sports Talk. I've been on his channel a couple times. We're really good partners. We're really good friends. And so it's awesome to have you on. And thanks for putting up with me for a little bit over an hour.
I loved it. I'd do it again. Just let me know.
But guys, appreciate y'all. Appreciate Austin. Appreciate Aaron from the Gridiron Address coming on. You guys can go follow Austin Sniz Fantasy Football on Instagram. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, my friend. Be on tonight after Monday Night Raw concludes to talk Raw on Netflix. Me and Mouthing Off with Mike will be doing a post-cap show. I love you as well, Jason. Does a lot of good work. Get better soon. He did a lot yesterday on the Gridiron Address, and his voice is getting shot. So, hey, you guys have been putting in a lot of work. I appreciate everybody making content. I appreciate everybody hopping on shows. I appreciate everybody in the comments, because it's a lot of fun. But nightcap tonight, following Raw on Netflix. Tomorrow, Outta Pocket will be back 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. We got a couple surprises in store for you, so you'll want to be able to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss it, and come back tomorrow at 5:30. And in addition, Dad and the boys will return after the holiday break and after the Cowboys regular season concluded. And so we'll be without a meaningful Cowboys game until this September. So it'll be a somber mood on Dad and the boys, but I'll try to keep it lighthearted and fun, because it is time with my dad, and we haven't been able to do it in the last couple of weeks. So a lot of great content. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure you don't miss anything. Be sure to go follow Drew Code Sports Talk as well on YouTube. And guys, we got to get out of here, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, Outta Pocket at 5:30.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you very much.